What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Brand Doctor podcast episode for you. Today we have a great guest. We have a best-selling author, live streamer, award-winning producer, director, executive producer, creative director, and the founder of a company called Script to Screen. Without further ado, I want to introduce my man, Ken Kerry, to the show. How are you, my friend?
I am well, Henry. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of that. When you started talking about that, like, who's he talking about? But I appreciate that.
Well, I'm so happy that you reached out, because at first I was like, another solicitation to be on the show. You know, we get 2 or 3 of those a day.
I imagine.
So Pam does all the screening for that. But Pam said to me, Henry, I think you should check this guy out. I went to his website and was like very impressed. So I want to share with the audience how, you are a veteran in the direct response and marketing space, and worked with some amazing brands and people, Sheryl Crow, Sophia Vulgara. Talk to me about how you got into this with your wife, Barbara.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that you didn't pick up on the Ken and Barbie, but I'll throw that out there.
I love it.
Yeah. So anyway, she and I both founded the company. And so we founded the company, Henry. So we were both in sports television. My wife was in front of the camera. I was behind the camera, and she was my girlfriend at the time. Okay. And I had worked for ABC Sports, and I had traveled all over the world doing Olympics and Monday Night Football, baseball, all that kind of stuff. And she did the same thing in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles market, but she was doing it in front of the camera for the Dodgers, the Angels, the Rams, and all that kind of stuff. So as we started dating, we started thinking about, okay, this is great. We love this, but what's next? What's next? As wonderful as all that sounds, after 3 or 4 years, it's just another Super Bowl. It's just another World Series. It's just another game. And, so we decided we were young enough. We weren't married. We didn't have any money. Didn't have any kids, obviously. So we said, what the heck? Didn't have any debt. Let's go do something ourselves. So what we decided to do was, at that time, and this is, when you say veteran, I laugh because you're absolutely right. This was in late 80s, when there's these infomercials on television. Sure. And at that time, it was very schlocky. It was really bad, snake oil salesman and, get rich quick and all that kind of stuff. And but what was happening got our attention was that people were selling products and services on television, and they didn't have to be a big mega brand. And that got my attention because, you know what, I felt like, if we can come up with a good product, we could do that. I mean, why not, right? We produce network television. We could do that. So I'm going to collapse the time a little bit here. So within a couple of years, we came up with a product that was a self-motivation product that was audio tapes. It's kind of like the Tony Robbins thing back in the day.
Sure.
And so we created an infomercial, put it on the air, bombed, totally bombed. And we thought, what did we do wrong? Well, what we did wrong was we tried to educate and not inspire and not give information. We were trying to educate people too much. So that was the process of getting into the direct response business, by using our own product, our own money, our own time, and we got our butts handed to us. But it was actually the best thing that ever happened to us. We always call it our PhD in direct response, because it gave us the ability to break down what we were doing and trying to understand what we're doing and what we're not doing. What we weren't doing, we weren't hitting the customer's pain points. We weren't finding out exactly what their problem was and solving it. So by doing that, through a couple iterations of the show, got to the point where we got whole. Well, we made enough money that we weren't bleeding as bad, right?
Okay.
So because we're network television, we didn't know any better. We just put our logo on the end of the TV show, which was dumb, but it was smart at the time. And the reason why it was dumb is because when you're buying media time, every single second costs you money.
Got it.
So we didn't realize we were promoting ourselves. So somebody gives us a call out of the blue and says, hey, I saw your show, and I didn't buy your product, but I have a product, and I'd like to hire you to do a show for us. So I said, well, hang on a second. Let me talk to marketing. And I covered the phone and I said, hey, marketing, down the hall to my wife. and we said, yeah, let's do it. So we made one of our very first infomercials. It was for a smoking cessation program, and it was extremely, extremely successful. So we just started finding people finding us, and we created shows and campaigns, and we've been very fortunate to be very successful. And as you know, and as your audience knows, that starting in television, that's grown into online, that's grown into social, that's grown into digital, it's grown into so much more. And our business is that. It's so much more. It touches every single aspect of where consumers are today. And that's how we got into it. And then, we started working with big brands because we had really high production values. We understood what a brand was. A brand wasn't really trying to, I use the word sell out or be schlocky. They have a very specific thing they want to do, but they still want to sell product and services, but they need to do it very, very sophisticated. So that's what we were able to do. And, 30 years later, we've generated over $6.5 billion in sales for our clients.
Awesome.
We work with VC-backed companies, to startups, to small businesses, to the biggest brands in the world. And we're doing every single touch point in marketing today. And that's a 2.5 minute, 3.5 minute synopsis of where we are and where we started.
Listen, I got so many questions. I mean, So it wasn't a stupid idea to put your logo at the end of the video, because look at what it did for you.
I know, right? I know.
Catapulted you into the stratosphere. I think it's very important for people to, that's something that our mutual friend, Josh Tappan, was talking about in a previous episode. Josh said, you got to be shameless. You got to put yourself out there. And I don't think that's the right word. I just think that we have to really present ourselves more. We have to show more social proof. I think a lot of us refrain from doing that because it feels too self-promoting, and it's not about us, it's about them. And I totally get that.
Right.
But there has to be a time and a place to plug this in. Otherwise, how are people going to find out about us? How are people going to associate us with the work that we do?
I agree. And you know what, and I totally understand what you're saying, Henry, but it's, if the intent is right, it's not selling and patting yourself on the back. If your intent is really to help somebody, then it's okay to putting yourself out there with intent and the right purpose makes a big difference.
So let me ask you, Ken, what is your definition of brand and branding?
Right. So my definition of brand and branding is that this gets a little deep.
Please.
So there's equity branding. Now, for companies who have agencies that are doing their advertising for them, those are called equity agencies. What's happening today is there are performance agencies, meaning like what we do. Every single dollar I spend, I have to give the data and the ROI based on that dollar I spend, where an equity agency doesn't. And an equity agency is branding, meaning they're putting out a message to make you feel good about a company or a brand. Like Nike. Nike's not trying to sell you something right there. They're trying to make you feel good about inspiring yourself to be the athlete inside. That's overall branding, right?
Mhm.
Which I think is extremely important.
Mhm.
But from our standpoint, let's take the example of Nike. We would move that over here and say, here's a great pair of shoes. And these are all the features and benefits of this pair of shoes that's going to make you that great athlete. So buy these shoes right now and feel like an athlete, which was the big branding message that Nike's trying to do. So I'm trying to make a transaction, and I'm trying to brand at the same time, because I have to have the same, I have to treat the Nike brand just as important as they are in equity as I am in performance. I can't tarnish it, because they don't want that, and I don't want to do that either. I want the Nike brand to come through, but I'm trying to make a transaction because I want to say to Nike, listen, you gave me $1 million advertising budget. I turned that $1 million into $5 million immediately. Where an equity says, you gave me a $20 million marketing budget, and I'm going to hopefully show you through POS data or things down the line that meant something. Both important, but I'm giving an ROI right at the moment. So my definition of branding for me is to keep the integrity of the brand, continue to make the message of what you are saying about that product or company, but to try to make a transaction. Because when I can make a transaction on television, that means I can spend more media to sell those products. Therefore, I create more impressions, which I increase the brand or scale the brand.
Okay, beautiful. So I have a lot of folks that would say that direct response marketing just feels too transactional for me. And in 2019 and beyond, we want it to be less. We want to buy. We don't want to feel sold. What I'm getting at is, people say, I've heard a lot of people say that direct response marketing is too transactional and it's too pushy. And I don't think it's going to work in 2020 and beyond. Like, what do you say to that?
I say that the numbers absolutely debunk that. So because it's growing every more and more every day. So I understand why people say that, but let me take example of.
Why do you think they say that?
Because they are, they think an infomercial is a bad word, and it's schlocky, and it's these spray hair things, and there's these goofy car rags and all that. That's what they think an infomercial is. Right. That's why they say it, because they don't want to put their brand or what they stand for looking like that. Right. We get that. I understand that. Unfortunately, that is what's out there in people's minds. And if they do a little research and understand, that's not the case of the business. So for example, let me ask you this. So Dollar Shave Club is direct response. It's a $1 billion corporation purchased by Unilever. It's a billion. They were purchased for $1 billion. That's direct response. I don't,
I
you
agree.
can argue all day long that,
Sure.
So
go ahead. Finish your thought. I don't want to.
Yeah. So I think that's why they're saying they don't really understand. You don't have to be pushy. And I want to, and I get that, because some people are pushy and you are transactional, and there are people who do that, but don't do that. Right. I think what you did, what you do on Unique Designz on your website is absolutely indicative, perfectly an example of how you sell without being pushy. What did you do? You put on Russell Brunson. You did testimonials of people who worked with you. That's not pushy. You don't have to sell. Let them sell for you.
Sure.
If you delivered them a service, let them sell for you. that alone is where I think the turn is happening, Henry, where we live in a review-based economy, right? We make decisions every day based on a review. So you have to take the power of that and let them do the selling for you. So you're not pushy, you're not transactional, you're just saying, listen, here, I have this great product. It does this, this, and this. But don't listen to me. Listen to the people who've used it. Yeah. That's how you can change that mindset. And that's where it's going in 2020. That review-based economy is just happening more and more every day. If you think about these SaaS products like Yotpo and things like that are on top of Shopify and all those types of things where you're looking at something and you're seeing what everybody else is doing and why they're liking it. They're creating that community, that conversation. That's where direct response is going. And that's not pushy. That's how people make decisions today. It's just changed.
Listen, I mean, even going back to the old infomercial days where the use of demonstration and social proof, I think I agree with you 1,000%. I always tell my clients when I'm auditing their websites or their social medias, I always say, where is the expertise demonstration here? Like, where are the people coming out and saying, I got my ass handed to me a few months back, probably earlier this year, where I was finishing up with a brand accelerator client and the client needed some help on the LinkedIn platform to market himself there. Now that's not where my expertise is, but I have enough people in my Rolodex that I can refer him to. So I send him over to my buddy Mike, and me and Mike just wind up having a side conversation when I reached out, and I said, Mike, I love what you're doing. I mean, I last time I saw you, we were in Russell Brunson's Inner Circle program, so it's been a while, but it looks like you're doing amazing. And he says, yeah. He says, how are you doing? I says, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Like, I really changed the model of my business and things are going great. I said, I raised my prices like 10x since the last time we spoke. And he said, really? And he says, well, what about you? How are you doing with reviews and things like that? And I said, well, you know, Mike, I never really thought of it. And as I'm talking to him, I hear him typing. So he goes to Google, he types in my name in Google, and he says, Henry, what is your, average cart value, if you will? And I said, well, my minimum level of engagement around these days is 10,000. To work with me one-on-one, it's 10,000. And he says, Henry, you have 4 reviews on Google. He's like, does that help you beef up that social proof and credibility and authority? I said, Mike, you just gave me a gift. So I went come hell or high water, I was going to get these reviews up. Now go to my Google reviews, 56 reviews. And amen to what you just said about the world going into and transforming into this review-based selling. So if there's anything that people get out of today's conversation is, where's the proof?
Exactly.
Where's the proof? It's so funny. You're talking about infomercials like Dean Graziosi.
Yep.
Right.
I know Dean.
He's coming on the show October 22nd.
Awesome.
He's going to be fabulous because what we're actually going to be talking about on the show is he's got a new book coming out.
Yep.
And it's all about the underdog. So, I would love to ask you, for those folks, because you work with much bigger brands now, but I saw on your website you work with entrepreneurs as well. You know, what's some advice you could give them in the market? And then I want to get into the book because the book's title alone is intriguing, and I want to dive in.
Awesome.
But a lot of folks that I'm communicating with on Instagram and stuff, they're so lost, and they feel defeated. They feel like, I've tried this, I've tried that. It's not working. I don't know what to do. I'm ready to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Listen, you and your wife made how many mistakes before you got to this level? So what do you tell that entrepreneur that feels like he's treading water and he's not making any progress?
Well, first of all, I say that that's okay, because we've all been there. And don't beat yourself up over it. It's not that you've done 10,000 things wrong. It's that you just did 10,000 things that didn't work. You just haven't found the right one that works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So please don't beat yourself up, because we could have thrown in the towel way earlier. $300,000 in debt, you know, a product that didn't work, but we just kept going at it and kept going at it and kept going at it and kept going at it, and figured out that the best thing we can do is listen to our customers, because our customers will tell us what we need to do. You got to get out of your own way. Okay. You may be the smartest person in the room, but that doesn't matter, because if you just sit down and ask your customers, tell me, what do you need? What do you need? And they'll tell you what they need. And then you design your service, your product, whatever, around their needs. It's not rocket science, right? So I would say those two things: ask your customers what they need, design services, products around that, and don't beat yourself up. But I'd say the third thing I would say is that, let's go back to this review-based economy and testimonials. So here's an interesting thing. So one of the most important things that we do in the direct response business is get authentic, credible testimonials to talk about a product or a service. That is the foundation of a show that we've been doing for 30 years that's generated billions of dollars in sales. Because I can tell you until I'm blue in the face how wonderful my product is, why you need it. And you know what? People just go, boop, turn you off, because at that point, you're jamming it down the throat. You're just selling them. You just back away and say, this is how it solves your problem. And listen to Joe or listen to Henry, and he'll tell you how what I did, or the product I had, or the service I helped me, and utilize that. So for those entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small businesses, look at your database, take some time, and you got to work. If you're not going to roll up your sleeves, then this isn't for them. Okay. Talk to your customers and say, what have I done? What value have I added for you, and how did I help you? They'll tell you. And then you make that a testimonial. You do it in print, you do it in video, and you put it out everywhere. And that there will be a tipping point where people will say, God, everybody likes working with Henry. Everybody likes working with Ken. They just see it's not them talking about themselves. So it's not an expensive thing. No. It's a tenacity thing, and you just talk to your customers, and then use the power of video and text to magnify that outreach. So, for example, I'm doing the same thing. You're recording this podcast. You're going to make it a vlog. You're going to cut it up into Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn content. You're going to maximize the crap out of it, make a blog out of it, which is fantastic. That's what everybody can do. So, don't beat yourself up. Talk to your customers, and you didn't do anything wrong. You just haven't found the right thing that worked yet.
And I truly believe that I don't think you're ever going to find that one thing that's going to last thousands of years, It's funny. My mindset coach is Russell Brunson's mindset coach, and she's the coach for all of his inner circle members. So the funny thing is she says that these people come in, they're super successful already. I mean, it's $50,000 to get into this thing. We didn't pay that when we were in it, but so these people are super successful, and they're pushing along. What happens is they rest on their laurels because they think that they found it, and that's it. This is going to work forever. And she says, what's happening is that they're not. This is not the case. And what she sees them doing is going into a panic. Like, oh my God, this worked last week. It's not working this week. What do we do? And then they just they get into this vicious cycle, if you will. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
So to your point, don't get comfortable. You may find something that works. Listen, try to beat your control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Try to beat your control. Try to outdo yourself. See what happens. What's the worst thing that could happen? I remember when I was trying to beat my control and I was getting frustrated, my mentor said, what's the worst thing that could happen, Henry? You go back to what you were doing, right? And maybe that'll sustain the success that you were having before. Who knows?
Right.
But don't beat yourself up over this. So
yeah,
I love that. Couple questions, and we're going to dive into the book. So I just have some selfish curiosity here. So I see that you worked with Sheryl Crow and Sophia Vulgara. How did you land those clients?
We have been very fortunate, being very successful, and we have a good name in our industry. So if anybody's looking at infomercial or direct response, performance marketing, they Google all that, you're going to see us. Okay. And then you're going to see the people that we work with. So, as you know, you're guilty by association, right? So I've worked with Sophia Vulgara and Gwyneth Paltrow and Chuck Norris and Christy Brinkley and Sheryl Crow and all these types of people and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But so when somebody is looking to do a performance response marketing campaign or an infomercial, they'll find us. When they find us, they look at our site like you did, and they see, hey, these guys have had success. This guy Ken knows what he's talking about. He's on this platform. He's here. He's that. He's a thought leader. Whatever. So we get credibility. But back to my point, Henry, is that I'm not hollering. I let Sheryl Crow holler. I let all these other people holler and say they're great to work with. So that's how that search process happens. And then we get in the room. And once we get in the room, we say, listen, this is what we've done. We have a process. Actually, I wrote a book about it. And that's how it's created billions of dollars in sales. And I'm not guessing. We're not guessing on how to do this. We're definitely working through a process. And we're going to try, like you said, we're going to test. We're going to test a lot of different things. So that's how we get them. People we're very fortunate people seek us out. And because like yourself, we're not the least expensive option out there. We're probably the most expensive option. But I can tell you that we're going to deliver an ROI for you, or we're not going to take the business. If I don't think that there's going to be an upside for them and for us, I don't take the business. We don't take the business. It's not about getting that, $1 million check. That'll come if you do what you say you're going to do, and it works for them, it works for you. It'll 10x that. So you got to pick. So the answer to your question is people seek us out, and I do a lot of speaking, and I speak at events, and I have my podcast, my vlog, and all that kind of stuff, and love the opportunity to spread my word here with you at the same time, reaching your audience. So that's how we get those clients, and we just have a good reputation. Basically, is what it is.
So a couple points I want to make here for my audience to really understand this. So if I can hear you correctly, Ken Kerry is not worried about how many followers he has on Instagram. He's not worrying about, oh my God, did I make my last post, on Instagram or Facebook relevant or this and that. No, Ken Kerry's focusing in on doing amazing work.
Exactly.
And he's letting that work speak for itself. And then he's taken projects that he knows potentially could be grand slams. And he's saying to himself, this is going to be another testimonial for us. I think what happens is people go for the quick buck. They take the money. They forget about that reputation. That's so important. and then they get their ass handed to them when processes fall through.
Right.
They have disgruntled clients, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge now backtrack of, oh crap, I got to make this right. And then that
Right.
puts you in a tailspin because I've been in those situations before.
Yeah.
I've been doing this 13 years. I'm no spring chicken either.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember going through those, saying to myself, why did I even take this project to begin with?
Yeah.
I wasn't certain that I could blow this out of the park.
Right.
Again, I was in that, not the desperate, but like,
I got you.
right. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, and that, I get it. I get it. And the reality is this. You have a bit, before I go there, and then they feel defeated. And then they feel defeated, and then like, what am I doing? And blah, blah, blah. Listen, everybody's got rent. Everybody's got food. They got family. They got all those are things that you have to take care of. Okay. So I'm not going to sit here and be holier than thou and say, have I taken projects that aren't the perfect fit? Yeah, I have, because I got a family to feed. I got a staff to pay and all that kind of stuff. But the majority of what we do is, can I make a difference? Am I confident I can make a difference? And are they confident in me and my team to allow me to do that? Because if they're not confident to let us do what we do, I don't want to work with you. I don't care how much money you're paying me, because if you're not bought into what we're trying to do, and we're not setting ourselves up for success, it's a waste of time and waste of money, and you bang your head against the wall and all that kind of stuff. So for your audience, hey, there's no shame in taking business to run your business and to take care of your family. Matter of fact, you better be doing that. Mm-hmm. But there's a point where you have to look at the long tail and say, if I do this, can I really make a difference? And then if I really make a difference, have a conversation with them and say, listen, Henry, we're going to work together. And I really think I can make a difference. When we start to make a difference, would you do a testimonial for me? Would you just tell others why that relationship worked? Get that on the table right out front. They're going to say, absolutely, yes, you're going to do your work, and then they're going to validate what you're doing. So I don't care if you're the yoga studio on the corner or you're the biggest brand in the world, the impact that a good testimonial says about what you do and your service that you provided to someone else has the same impact. It doesn't matter. It's how you utilize it and picking the right people to do work with. Because you're right. I don't care about the followers. I care about the people that I'm serving. If there's only 10 of them, they're the 10 I want to serve, not the 100 they're going to waste my time.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I'm just to add to that, I had a really quick story for you guys. So last Friday, I was somebody reached out through the ClickFunnels community. They needed this funnel built. And so we get on a phone call and we have this conversation, another fellow New Jerseyan. And she was telling me about this project and how she wanted it built and why she needed it built and the whole nine. But as I did my exploration on that call, I didn't do all the talking. I let them do most of the talking. I find out that her husband's got stage 4 prostate cancer, bedridden. She takes care of 4 dogs. She's taking care of her husband half the day. She's trying to work this side hustle business. She's a nurse, like crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I love to do these calls on Zoom because I could see the person, right? Because you can hear them, that's one thing. But when you see them, their facial expressions say it all, right?
Yeah.
So I go through the process. We get to the bottom of the call. And I said, is this something that you want to do? And she said, yes. But she did it with such a glare on her face. She was petrified.
Yeah.
Like, her voice said yes. Her face said, hell no. I'm not ready for this commitment. And so I looked at her and I said, Vicky, I just want you to know you don't have to do this today. There's no pressure here. And she said, no. Send me the information. We're going to get going. So I said, all right. But you could tell she was just so uneasy about it. Fast forward, I go out with my buddies watching the Yankees game. I come back from the game, and I said, I got to email this woman. So I email her. It's like 10:30 at night. I said, Vicky, I was thinking about our conversation today, and I do not think that this is a good fit for you right now. I think time is our most valuable asset here, and the time should be spent with your husband right now. And I let it go. I just let it go. So I get it. I wake up the next morning. Sure as shit, she emails me back. She says, Henry, I so appreciate that. Thank you so much. And she was, I guess she's been dealing with this a long time, because I didn't feel the emotion here that much, but she was just like, once my husband passes, I will go full bore into this project. And I was just like, yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. I think if anything, he needs you right now, and you should spend your time there. And that's it. Right. And so I share that story because I want people to understand, if I would have took that client on, right, there could have been so much tremendous pressure on her part. There could have been 1,000 things Sunday that could have went wrong.
Absolutely. And the baggage that could have gone on that project for both of you could have been detrimental. And, it probably would be worse than it was better. So you're right. Your position was that I'm going to do the work when I know that I can really help somebody. You can't help her right now. You're not a doctor. You can't help her, but you helped her, but you did help her take it off her shoulders and say, thank you. I should do my time here. And then she will be back. And then you can do your best work.
I'm a firm believer that I think she'll be more focused.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so, all right, Ken, let's get into this book.
I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. This Works Marketing. So talk to me about the passion behind it and why you wrote it in the first place.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Henry. And I am absolutely honored to be a guest on your podcast. So I just want you to know I really appreciate that.
No worries.
So This Works Marketing, why we called it This Works Marketing, it's a pretty funny story, but every time we worked on a project with a big client, whether it's a VC-backed company, small company, big company, or biggest brand in the world, once what we did and once we implemented and once it started working, every time we'd hear this, Henry, this shit really works. So it's actually should be, this shit really works marketing.
That'd be amazing.
So that's how the name came about. This Works Marketing, because client after client would say, this really works. And I said, yeah, it really does. You gotta allow us to do what we do.
Right.
And we gotta allow you to do what you do, and we can collaborate and make this happen. So that's how it came about. So as I was thinking about it, right now, this book has been in my head for like 10 years. And a good friend of mine, she's a very, very influential thought leader. Her name is Sheryl Johnson. Oh,
of course.
You know Sheryl?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a very, very good friend of mine. Well, she's been kicking my butt for the last 10 years. I produced and directed a lot of her infomercials. That's how we became friends.
Okay.
So she'd been kicking my butt all the time. As a matter of fact, she actually made me make an online course on how to make money with testimonials. So I'm actually in the process of doing that. But because she was kicking my butt to do that, it forced me to really think through our process. I would sit in this conference room in the C-suites of these biggest companies, and they'd all look at me and go, how does this work? And I go, well, let me show you how it works. It's a real process. There's a process from turning a prospect into a customer. And it may not happen right away. It may take a little bit of time, but let me tell you that process. So I go through, and as I'm going through this, I'm going, each one of these tactics and strategies is a chapter. And so I wrote it all out. Literally, I had a client, the Shark Ninja client, where we worked with Sophia Vulgara. I'd go back and forth to the East Coast, and I literally wrote this on back and forth on the plane over a 6-month period. And I started going through each thing that we do. And if you don't mind, I'd like to go through those topics, because I think it really help
that was my next question.
It'll help your audience. So there's these tactics you got to go through. First, you have to have a hook. Then there has to be a problem solution. Then you have to integrate your story. And then you need to talk about what's your unique selling proposition. Why is it that you are positioned to help this person do whatever it is they're trying to do? You have to take all of that and make it a very simple message. You have to demonstrate what you do. You can't assume people understand if they can't see it, feel it, touch it. You have to do it very authentically. Today's world, you cannot BS, because you'll get called out so fast. You have to have testimonials to validate what you're doing. You have to create value. Why is what I'm offering you today a great value, for such a good value you can't pass it up because you need this problem solved so quickly or so importantly? Then you have to make a compelling offer. All sounds like the funnel, right? A compelling offer. You have to have an urgency to act. And then you have to put it all together in a very seamless selling message that is going to take somebody from a prospect into a customer. So I just went through those 12 things, and those are all chapters in the book. And that's exactly how we construct, whether it's an infomercial, whether it's a 60-second commercial, whether it is a social media response-driven piece of content, whether it's a Facebook ad or whatever, or YouTube retargeting ad, we go through that process. So that's what the book is, and we actually go through each one of them, and I give real life case study examples of how the topic we're talking about, the tactic that we talk about, how we implemented it into a show and why it worked and how you can do it yourself. So this isn't theory. I'm a practitioner. This is not theory. This is like, okay, I'm sure everybody's seen an infomercial with Chuck Norris and Christy Blinky for a Total Gym, right?
Sure.
It's been on the air for 15 years. It's a $1 billion corporation. And so I say, if you've seen that, then you understand what it is we're trying to do. And that's what this book is written around, that whole process. So that's really what it is. And then I have, people like Montel Williams, Jake Steinfeld, David Ork of the Ork Corporation, all the people that we've done work with validate why this works.
Look at this guy. He's a walking testament of what he does.
I try to be. I appreciate you saying that. I try to be. I'm not trying to give you crap that I don't do. If I don't do it and I can't prove that I'm successful with it, then I'm full of hot air.
That's it. And that's what I want people to understand. When people are too intuitive these days, like my 2-year-old son can smell out a BS artist in 2 seconds these days.
Oh yeah.
Right. And you're going to know it. Right. So
yeah.
I have a couple questions, because
yep.
just from my clients coming to me and going through the Brand Accelerator program, I see a pattern where they typically get tripped up. Okay. And you mentioned a couple of them in the 12-step process. The one thing that they really get tripped up on is their USP, their unique selling proposition. When they come to me and say, I go, well, what's your USP? I'll get responses like, well, we're reliable. Is that right?
Yeah. So is a battery in a car.
That's my point. So I would love for you, Ken, to kind of break that process down for our audience. Like, how would you walk somebody through when you get an answer like that?
Yeah.
Right. How do you coach the client to think deeper?
Okay. So let me hit it at 2 ways. One is I'm going to give you a practical example of how we dealt with that with a specific product. And then I'm going to give you a way to find out what that is. So I would say for a client who says we're reliable, I'd say, okay, great. That's a great place to start. So why don't you call or put together a survey of 10 clients that you have and say, just ask them one question. What have I done, or what have we done as a business that has given you the most value? Okay. Now you're probably going to get 6 or 7 of the same answer.
Right.
And the rest will be just random. You've got to pay attention to those 6 or 7, because you may think you're reliable, but you know what? Your clients may think that, you know what? It's that you're truthful. Is that you tell me what I need to know. And you think you're reliable, but your clients are saying, what I appreciate about you is you're very truthful. So that's the unique selling proposition. Now it's your job as a marketer to figure out how to use that as a selling point.
Okay.
Right? So again, ask your clients. Don't ask family members. Don't ask family members. Okay?
Yes.
Don't.
Yes, so true.
Ask
so true.
clients and say, what is it that gives you the most, what do I do that gives you the most value? And the cream will rise to the top. I guarantee it, the cream will rise to the top, and you need to understand that's what you do well. That's your unique selling proposition, because if they didn't think you did that well, they'd go somewhere else and get it. Right?
Love it.
So that's how you can find out. It's a very simple way to find out. So let me give you an example of how when we're selling a product. Example is there was a blender. This is about 7 years ago, and this is when Jack LaLanne was alive. And Jack LaLanne was known as the juice guy, right? He was the juice guy.
Yep.
So the company marketing him came up with a blender and called it the Jack LaLanne blender. Well, nobody knew him as the blender guy. They knew him as the juice guy. So that blender sat on the shelves, collected dust, and didn't sell, when his juicer business was $100 million business. Like, how can Jack LaLanne not make blending work? Well, people didn't associate him with that. So I'm literally on a shoot on another project, and I meet my good friend Montel Williams. Montel had just released the fact that he has MS at that time. And I'm sitting on the set with him, and he's got this container, like almost like a little Yeti cooler, full of these things like this, full of smoothies, green smoothies. And he's drinking, he's putting them down all day long. I go, Montel, what is that all about? He says, you know what? I've succumbed to the fact that I have MS. I don't want to fight it with drugs. I want to do it naturally. And this is my nutritionist and I worked out, and this is how I'm going to do it. I said, fantastic. How do you feel? I feel great. I'm feeling better. I used to be able to work out 2 times a day. When I wasn't doing this, I wasn't working out at all. I felt lousy. Then I started doing the smoothies, and now I'm back to 1 time. I go, great story. So I said to Montel, Montel, I have an opportunity for you. I want you to meet a friend of mine who has this blender. And so anyways, we put Montel as a spokesperson because he had an authentic story. Now, that was the USP. That was his unique story about he actually used a blender to make these drinks to help him with his MS. That was his unique selling proposition because he lived it. He feels it. He feels it. He knew how to get it out there, and people reacted to it. So I would say his unique selling proposition was his empathy and of what people were going through and how he fixed it. That's how we utilize that.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
Yeah. And then so that blender they couldn't give away. They couldn't give it away. Did about $70 million in a year and a half.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Okay, one more question, and I'll let you. I know you're a busy guy. So let's talk about out of those 12. So we hammered the USP. I think the hook is the next place I want to spend some time. Same. I think this is where, because I love what you said earlier in the show. You said one of the big mistakes we made in the beginning was we tried to educate and not inspire.
Right.
And I learned this the hard way myself. So creating that hook to grab their attention, yes, any seasoned marketer will tell you that people are going to move faster to avoid pain than to gain pleasure.
Yep.
But how do we craft that hook to get it in the mat? Like how do we sink that hook in deep enough where they're like, crap, this is a no-brainer. This is a must-have.
Right. Okay. I'm glad you asked that question, because the hook is more important than ever, Henry, with social media and ads on Instagram and Facebook and all that. We call that thumb stopping moment. What's going to get my attention, right?
Right.
So that could be done with color. It could be done with an image. It could be done with a saying.
Yeah.
But where we have found the most success with our hooks, Henry, is that we say, have you ever had this? Or do you this? Or I ask a question like, are you looking for bigger and better paying clients? Yes. Okay. Got your attention, right? Because that's your pain point. Now that I've got your attention, I better come up with something really quick to prove that I can deliver on that. So to your point, I try to go at the pain. I ask a question that I know that they're experiencing. Back to that point of people that I want to work with. The people I want to work with have very specific problems that I know I can solve. I know I can solve them. So I know what their problems are, so I just lay it out to them. Are you trying to build a direct-to-consumer business because Amazon is kicking your ass and retail isn't what it used to be, and you're seeing inferior products outsell you? Yeah, I have an answer for you. So that's one way. Another way is excitement. Let me give you an example. One of our clients, Bose, the audio system, right?
Sure.
So how do you take this sound and make that visual on television? Right? That's a tough one, right? So what we did was, Bose has this experience trailer. They go around and they have this surround sound system and a TV in there. And I said, we were in their meeting, and I said, can we utilize that trailer? And they said, yeah, I don't know why, but sure. And I go like, oh, okay, I know why. So we went to a mall. Matter of fact, I want to say it was Cherry Hills Mall. Does that sound familiar?
Down in South Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say that sounds right. So we went there and we just asked passersby, hey, would you want to try this? Would you just go in this trailer and hear this sound, this presentation?
Or Short Hills Mall. Short Hills. It's a real affluent area. Yeah.
Right? Yes.
Okay.
Short Hills. You're right. Exactly. Right. Because you're right. It's affluent. So we got these people in the trailer like, yeah, sure, whatever. And we blew their freaking socks off. The sound and everything. And then they came out of the trailer. We had a camera, and I said, tell me what you experienced.
Yeah.
Oh, it was that was so amazing. Is this? And I just sat there and listened to these people. And I go, I'm going, edit. That was the hook. People were so excited. They're going, holy cow. By the time you're 30 seconds into that, you're stopped and going, what the hell are they talking about? That's another example of a hook.
Oh my God, that is amazing. I love it. See, looking for those opportunities and capturing them, and see, like, who would have thought to use that trailer, right? A very smart marketer, right?
Right.
I was just telling one of my clients this too. Like, he's a big landscape designer in locally here, and the guy does phenomenal work, right? Every other landscaper in the world or in town is doing the same exact thing. I said, we have an advantage here. You've been doing this since you were 12 years old. You know way more than these folks. And we can, and now you have me on your team. Like, we need to start coming up with different ways to approach our community. Things outside of the box. I said, you think outside of the box when you're putting together somebody's backyard.
Yes, good point.
Start thinking about how to think outside of the box when we're marketing to our community. And if that means you have to send lumpy mail to them after you have an introductory consult, and you send them a box of a bag of rocks, right?
Got your attention.
Right? They're never going to forget that bag of rocks, especially if you put a little funny hook to it or a tagline.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Boom. You got somebody's attention. I was telling him. Yeah, go ahead. What were you
I was going to say, I'd love to have you and I in a room one day, because this is great. We're just bouncing off. Right? I'd look at that and I'd go, okay, listen, when people are looking at their landscape, what do they want? They want the landscape. They want that one that's so beautiful. So I'd say this guy, geo-target where you want to be, and just put together before and after photos and say, do you want this? Done. Done.
It's so powerful. I mean, the guy does stunning work. These water features, like in people's backyard, you think you're at like a zoo. like that's how crazy it looks. It looks like, and just amazing individual. Not only does he do great work, but he's a great human being.
Awesome.
And, things like that go a long, long way.
Right.
And I think the points that you made today were so freaking valuable. You were so practical with everything, and God, you were right on the money. You were right on the money. So I do have a favor. You got to send me a copy of this book.
You bet. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what, Henry? If some of your clients or some people want it, literally hit me up on Instagram and I'll send them a copy too.
It's Ken P. Kerry, right?
Yep.
On Instagram?
Yep.
Yeah.
Direct DM me and I'd love to send you a book. Because I'm like you. I just want to create value to help people with their businesses. And when they succeed, we succeed, right?
I love it, dude. I love it. Ken, thank you so much. For those folks that want to learn more about Ken, check out Ken Kerry, KenKerry.com. You'll be able to purchase the book right off the website. Yep. He's got some amazing videos on that site. Go check him out. Ken, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today and sharing your wisdom and knowledge of marketing and really helping our audience, truly helping our audience improve their marketing so that they can make an impact in their industry.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And if I could be of any value to you in any way, you please hit me up. And the people who listen to you, listen up to Henry, because he's doing it and he's doing it right.
Ken, that means a lot coming from you, my friend.
All right.
So, appreciate you, man.
Hey, have a wonderful day.
You too. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. That's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed it. And I'm hoping you take a few of these nuggets and apply them. That's the only thing that Ken and I ask you to do, is don't just listen to us. Do it, because it works. Have an amazing day, guys, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Take care.